Just three ordinary people from the hills of eastern Kentucky. We don't have all the answers, but we do have all the questions. This is the Just Add Bourbon podcast with Jimmy Don, JD, and Don. And welcome everybody to the Just Add Bourbon podcast. I'm Jimmy Don Curtin.
I'm Dawn Giesica.
And JD is somewhere here. He's at Kentucky Lake. He was here and now he's gone, but I'm sure he'll pop back on here in just a second. Happy Memorial Day weekend to everybody out there. It is another beautiful Sunday evening here in the hills of eastern Kentucky. And there's our boy JD.
He made it.
Relaxing at Kentucky Lake. What's going on, everybody?
Not much.
Man, I'm like you said, man, I'm at the Kentucky Lake. Just enjoy this Memorial Day weekend, 2022. Man, this lake is beautiful. It's big, and it's different scene for me than what last week was. This week I'm doing the family thing. So last week was a little bit, you don't notice my sink was empty on Sunday evening.
Yeah, your sink was empty.
At 6 o'clock Sunday, there was nothing I cared about more than just sleeping. I didn't care about nothing.
So,
that's all part of my life. So,
is it another one of those that you need to make better decisions?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. We went to the Fallsburg Summerfest Friday night. We went out there, and I had such a good time, man. And Tyler Childers ended up showing up on Friday night.
That's what I heard. I heard he showed up.
And
awesome. Nope. So he cut out on your side, Don?
Yeah, he's lagging a lot.
So we apologize for the technical difficulties, but Don, something I want to bring up while we get JD back here is here in our little town of Inez, some good stuff going on. Our movie theater reopened this past Friday night. A lot of hard work and a lot of, I guess, pats on the back go to the Martin County Library Board. If people don't know, JD and I are both actually on the community center board, and we tried for a while to operate it, and then we had it. We were going to be okay, and then the governor shut everything down again, and when he did, it just killed us. And so we were able to work out a deal with the Martin County Library Board to operate the community center day to day. And they have done a phenomenal job getting that building back to where it needed to be. And the movie theater opened this weekend, and I went and watched Top Gun today, Top Gun Maverick. And Don, it might be one of the best movies I've seen in a while. And I don't know if that's nostalgia.
Right.
In a sense, but it was just a really, really good movie. Like, I was just blown away by how good it was.
What year was it that the first one came out?
I'm not even sure. We actually watched it
But it was in the 80s, right?
Yeah, it was.
88, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, we came home the other night, and me and Amy sat down with the girls and watched it. And so that was, and they were cracking me up because they loved the movie, but they hated Kelly McGillis. They thought she was ugly, and they was like, she's completely ruining the movie. Tom Cruise is so good looking, and she's ugly. Like, I don't know. It was kind of funny.
Yeah, right. I've heard nothing but good things about the Top Gun movie. I haven't been able to get out and see it yet, but I can't wait to watch it. I'll probably do like you did, though. I'm probably going to have to watch the original one because I was only like 10 or something, and I don't remember it. And I wasn't that kind of kid that was watching movies back in the day. I was up in the hills.
I was heartbroken. On the way down here, I was like, maybe we get free. We'll go watch the new Top Gun movie. Would you guys like to do that? It's like, yeah, we don't know what that is.
Yeah.
So I felt as a father,
No, when the movie came on and the theme song comes on, I got chills. Like, I don't know. And then it's got Goose's son in it, and like, you really do need to watch the first one so that if you've never seen it before, you got to watch the first one to really understand. But I was telling Don, JD, before we came on that, like, I got emotional at parts like I got pumped up in parts. Like I
Mhm.
couldn't wait to see what was going to happen next. The footage of them flying these planes is unbelievable. Like, I mean, it's just insane.
Yeah, I'm sure it's gonna be nothing but awesomeness. I can't wait. Like I really enjoyed the first one. I love the original Top Gun, and
Yeah,
you know,
I'll have to check it out.
and
You,
Tom
you,
Cruise doesn't look like he's aged a day. By the way,
No, he looks great in
yeah.
the movie. He really does. I said, and
Well,
Max Keller, the kid that plays Goose's son, does a phenomenal job too.
he's,
John
he's
Hamm's in it.
yeah, he's probably doing some of that Scientology voodoo stuff on his face.
well, it's working. I can tell you right now.
You know, I hear he's such a diva. You know, you read all these reports about Tom Cruise being so intense on the set that he expects a level of perfection all the time, and I could kind of get that vibe off of him. Can't you guys? Just seeing him on interviews and stuff, I kind of get the vibe that he may be a perfectionist. He has to be, because how long has his career went on, and
Yeah,
it's been a top notch, superior career. I mean, he's top of his game still. And he's probably been acting now. How long would you guys say he's been acting?
Well, I mean,
Gosh.
Risky Business came out. That was really the first, I guess, big starring role. But wasn't he in The Outsiders? All those young
he's a
guys.
kid, wasn't
Yeah, he was young.
I can't remember. Either way,
I don't
I'll
know.
watch it. I know. I'm a little sick, Chris. That's why I got my sunglasses on and my Walmart pajamas. Todd went and got me some Star Spangled Banner Walmart pajamas. Can y'all believe that?
America.
America. That's how I'm celebrating my Memorial Day weekend, with my tea and my pajamas.
No, but definitely shout out when it is Memorial Day weekend. Shout out to all the people who served. And I heard today, and I didn't know this, and I heard on the radio, and they were talking about the Memorial Day holiday became something after the Civil War. And I thought it was like a newer holiday, like, maybe after World War I or something like that, but it actually became a thing after the Civil War. Did you guys know that?
No, I didn't.
Yeah, I think that's true. I heard it on the radio, so everything you hear on the radio is true, right? So
Well, if it was on Facebook, I don't believe it.
that's right. Have you guys ever made the trip to Arlington?
I have a couple times.
Boy, that's something, isn't it? I mean, you
I have not, but I have been to DC. I got to spend a few hours in DC.
Yeah.
And I got to do I went to the wall, the Vietnam Wall. I didn't realize how emotional that was going to make me. I really enjoyed that, man.
It's tough to think about everything that all these heroes, I mean, put their life on the line, so we could sit here and drink tea and talk on a podcast. So
speaking of which, my uncle, who's Marine in Vietnam, he passed away yesterday. So.
Right here.
Sorry about your loss. That's awful.
But, he served his country proudly and to Vietnam and come back home and made a good living, and now he's passed away. That generation, they're dying out quickly.
Right. I hope everybody enjoys their Memorial Day weekend, but I'm like Jimmy Don, certainly make sure that you remember why we are celebrating this weekend. It's not really, about barbecues and things of that nature at all.
No, it is. It's an enjoyable weekend to hang out with family and friends like JD's doing today. But yeah, definitely keep in mind why we get this day off work. It's one of the few days of the year that I actually take off. When there's holidays, I generally work, but I do take off Memorial Day, and just out of respect to the people who served our country and died for this country. So that, like Don said, we get to sit here and run our mouths about the stuff we're getting ready to run our mouths about. So,
right. Yeah.
Guys, the topic of the week has been the shooting in Texas at the elementary school. And I know, just kind of watching, because I've said it many times, I don't get on Facebook a lot, but when we started, Don and JD started posting these things on our Facebook page, just these different things that were coming out, I paid attention, and it sparked a lot of debate, about gun control and, school shootings and those things. And first off, I'm sure I speak for these two when I say, our hearts go out to those families, because I could not imagine losing an elementary school child, if it was my child, to something like that.
Right.
Very scary that those kind of things do continue to go on here in our country. And so do you guys want to just speak on the actual tragedy first, and then we'll get into the actual debate?
You know, I'm so tired of talking about school shootings. And I think everybody is. We have other countries making fun of us at this point. Did you guys see where Mexico even made fun of us? I mean, the country that has drug cartels made fun of America because we can't get this stuff under control. You know, I heard about it on the news just like anybody else did. I'm a mother. I have a big bunch of kids. Not only am I a mother, but I'm a sister, I'm a daughter, I'm an aunt. I could not even try to put myself in the position of feeling of how those parents feel. When you put your kids on a school bus and you send them to school, you have every right to think that they're in a safe environment. And to hear how it went down, and I know we'll talk about it in detail, it crushed me. It was a hard couple of days. I mean, it's emotional when you hear about these things. It's something that I don't dive right into politics. When that comes up on the screen to me, I don't go right into politics about shootings or drunk driving or anything like that right off the bat, because I'm too much of a mom. And I just cannot imagine thinking that my babies got shot up in a school and that's what happened to these kids. And we're allowing it month after month, day after day.
JD, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I'm tired of talking about it. I'm tired of the thoughts and prayers for the family of orphans. It's time we got to do something. Something's got to change. I'm not saying I got all the answers. I know all there is, but I know what we're doing right now is absolutely not working. We got to do something.
Yeah.
Thoughts and prayers are great, but they're terrible policies. You know, so we got to figure something out. I have some ideals, of course, and we'll talk about that shortly, but it's frustrating too that a tragedy like this happens and strikes, and the first thing the left does is scream, "Oh, we need gun control," and the first thing they do is, "Oh, they're going to be yelling about guns and AR-15s," and everybody goes right on the attack. And it's like the meme that Don posted about the cycle, and nothing happens, nothing gets done, and then we start all over again.
Right.
And it's time we break that cycle. It's time.
Yeah.
So let me ask you guys this, because that is the one thing that makes me sad about this. Every single time we see something like this happen, is it is immediate I can't talk. They politicize this like immediately. Like JD just said, the left, gun control, the right is, bad people, but it continues to happen. And I'm like JD, the immediate political, I can't say that word.
Politicization.
The immediate politicizing of this makes me sick. Like it really does. It's like, let's talk about first, why does this continue to happen here? Because it appears that we are the only place in the world where mass shootings continue to happen. Right. JD, if you want to start, like, why do you believe that it happens here and nowhere else?
Oh man, I think that's a great question. Why does it happen here and nowhere else? Almost as it says something about our culture and how caught up we are with violence, man, and how much attention we pay to violence and bad things that happen. And I think people, even in death, this guy knew that people were going to be talking about this. I think he probably got off on that. The guy a few weeks ago that was hunting down black kids. He probably knew that his name was going to live in infamy. And I think there's something to that, man. I think people want to go down as being somebody, and if you're nobody, that's the one thing that anybody can do is take a gun to a school and become famous. Right. They don't have any intention of coming out, so that's what makes it. That's our problem to solve, right? So, I think that's one of the things that because we glamorize it almost. There's almost a glamorization, and it's going to be on every news channel, it's going to be on every paper, and every podcast is going to talk about it, right?
Right.
And I think there's something to be said about that.
I think that we have a really messed up society. I think we've declined decade after decade, generation after generation. I've grown up with guns. You guys likely grew up with guns. When I went to Sheldon Clark High School, I don't know if you guys participated, but my family's always hunted. And on opening day of rifle season for deer, it was not uncommon for us to come in tardy. It was not uncommon for us to bring in the kill, show it to our buddies right there in the parking lot of the school with the rifles in the truck, and then go on home. Not one time did anyone ever pull those rifles out and shoot up the school. So I definitely think our society has gotten so twisted to where we value things. I'm going to allude to what JD was talking about, glamorization. These kids will post things on Facebook and stuff, and he did. This killer he made many posts about kidnapping girls from that town and raping them. Did y'all see that? Nobody flagged him. He posted that he was going to go to the elementary school. Nobody flagged him. They're looking for all of this, fame, this twisted fame, I guess. I don't know why people do what they do, but I know that it's a multi-complex problem. You've got mental health. You've got the lack, people don't like to hear it, but we do have the lack of more traditional things and valuing somebody's life. We seem to value it many years ago, guys. We never went through the first school shooting, but my kids and your kids drill about it. That's a societal change. Guns have always been here. We have changed. We've got guns. We've got games that 5-year-olds play. And when you shoot somebody, that has blood shooting out. I mean, JD's right. We have a violent culture, and it's all about money. They will put anything on the market as long as they make money. And the reason why we have all this problem with these school shootings, one of them is power. You've got the right that goes one way, you've got the left that goes another way, because their bases know that if they don't pander to their bases, that they're not going to keep power. It's not about saving lives. If it was about saving lives, we have enough money to immediately beef up every school in America. Nobody can explain to me why not one single elite school has ever had a school shooting. Not one. But public schools seem to take it left and right. So it's classist, because if you think for 1 second that, let's say that they eliminated guns, they will never eliminate guns from the elite class. Never. It will never happen. So to me, I don't know why immediately parents don't just say, okay, come August, I'm not sending my kids to school unless we have locked doors, unless we have armed resource officers. And honestly, nobody should be able to get onto the campus. How you just drive up to the schools right now? Try driving up to Kim Kardashian's kids' preschool. You can't even get to the driveway. So I hate to say it, but that's how we're going to kind of have to treat our kids. We're going to have to treat them like the elite class treats their kids. And while we do that, that should make them a little safer. And then we need to look over here. I'm a gun owner. I'm not opposed to the age limit being raised nationally for rifles, certain types of rifles, maybe be 21. Because the majority of all of the mass shooters have been 22 and under that have gotten a hold of rifles and went and shot up. I don't know if y'all know that statistic or not. So right there, we could make it a little harder right there. And I think gun owners would be okay with rifles being raised, certain rifles being raised to the age of 21. But
let me drill into something just a little further here. Because,
sure.
You were talking about, we do have a violent society. Violent movies, violent video games. Grand Theft Auto is one of the most popular games ever made.
Music.
Yeah, violent music, things like that. But I am sure that they watch this stuff in these other countries too. China's one of the biggest markets for movies in the world, next to the U.S. Do you not think that these other countries have the same access to that stuff as we do here in America?
Oh, other countries have tons of violent crime. Tons of violent crime. First world countries, Google it. Google your rape and your stabbings and remember when Europe went through the whole throwing acid on people? People are going to find ways to be violent. But when it comes to guns, You have to remember we're unique because we do have it written into our Constitution. And I'm seeing lots of repeal the Second Amendment hashtags and stuff like that. That will cause a civil war because that's the very thing that half of the country, you're talking about more than half, because I saw a poll and 57% of independents are gun owners. So you're talking about more than half of the country will fight back on that if he was to try to, completely alter the Second Amendment. So I think, like everything else, Jimmy Don, I think that they need to go and kind of balance it, increase their security in schools. What happened to defund the police just a few years ago? The city mayor of Knoxville wanted to pull every resource officer out of schools in Knoxville. Now in Knox City, it would never happen in the county because we wouldn't allow it. But she wanted to do that. There was a big pushback on that. We can't do that. If Trump's grandkids and Clinton's grandkids are guarded, then JD's kids, your kids, and my kids deserve to be guarded. There is a vast difference between a commoner's school and an elite school. So in those things that we don't have to legislate, those don't have to be legislated. Those are immediate fixes right then and there. Nobody's going to argue it. You're not going to find a Democrat or a Republican that says, let's weaken security at schools. And then while we do that, then we can negotiate over here on the side, like little things. To me, like I said, I don't know how you guys feel, jump in, but raising it to 21 is not a end of the world thing to me. How about you guys?
Well, I think that one time when a guy going into a school with an assault rifle and shooting up a school, that sucks. The second time it happens, now we're starting to see something. The 20th time, it's a pattern, right? Mm-hmm. And so we got to do something to break the cycle of that pattern. We got to do something because, like I said earlier, what we're doing now is not working. So I'm absolutely for common sense gun control. There are automatic rifles still sold in this nation, but you have to have a special permit. You have to have a more stern background check, all these other things. And I don't know why we couldn't do the same thing for these types of rifles. And I know it's a buzzword, assault rifle, it's a buzzword, whatever. Mm-hmm. But the fact is that the same style is being used over and over and over again. And it's not a coincidence. So we have to address that in some way, some shape, form. And
some states,
I'm with Don. I think raising the age limit's a good start.
Yeah, some states have already done that. Like Florida, you have to be 21. So some states have already done it. Let
me ask you this question, though. All right, so I'm not disagreeing with you. I actually agree with raising. I think that would be a good start, raising the age limit for particular types of guns. But you're going to get some pushback from some people when they say, well, you can be drafted into the military at 18 and they're going to stick a rifle in your hand. Why shouldn't you be able to own a gun at 18? Don,
right. Now let me be very clear. Let me be very clear, and everybody hear my words. I am specifically talking about certain styles of rifles, and I'm not talking about handguns. I'm not talking about bolt action. I'm not talking about shotguns. I'm talking about none of that. Okay, and I'm not talking about federal laws on it. But see, I think that the states, if I sat in Kentucky here in the leg, I would go in and I would say, this is what I'm comfortable with. I'm comfortable with semi-automatic rifles moving to the age of 21. And then I'm going to have the numbers to back it. I'm a numbers girl. Every one of these mass shootings have happened around the age of 18, 19, 20-year-olds. So there you go. Maybe we can make one more step harder for them. But it's not going to ultimately stop them because you've got so many ghost guns out there. I mean, we've got more guns than we have people, truth be told. So how do you regulate something that you're never going to capture the people who are doing things illegally? So that's where we have to tread real lightly, because when people started flooding my inbox after that happened this week, my argument and how I very respectfully pushed back on them was, when you talk about raising it to the age of 21, you're blocking my daughter out. She's a 19-year-old girl. She is all over the internet, and she travels constantly by herself. I sleep at night because she is armed. But now we're responsible. We trained her. She goes on, both my girls go on shooting ranges. They know what to do. We even run little drills. I know it sounds crazy, but we run little drills. And things like that is how you get kids comfortable with guns. So I'm not talking about raising it to 21 for everything. I'm talking about with automatic weapons. You can still get automatic weapons in this country, but they make it so hard that me and you are never going to get it. You have to have tons of money. You have to go through all kinds of paperwork. You're never going to get it. I don't want to see semi-automatic become that hard either. But I do think that with the data, it's going to be hard for us to sit over here and say, no, open it up to anybody that's 18 and beyond, when we have full-on evidence that mass shooters have been 22 and under, armed with assault rifles going into this school. I don't think it'll solve it, but you have to give some to the side a little bit. And I know Republicans watching right now are cringing, but
JD, what do you think?
Well, I'm going to answer your question more directly about the argument against the military guys that join the military at 18 and you're handed a rifle. They're also getting the training. Whether they're not handed a rifle and being sent out on the streets, they're around competent people, they're experienced people in a controlled environment, and they're being taught to use those weapons appropriately. It's a big difference between giving the guy that's been on hallucinogens for 25 years a rifle and saying, "Here, there's a school next door. Let's see what you can do." So those things aren't even comparable, in my opinion. I mean, even though those are the kind of arguments that would be made is, I can join the military at 18 and get a rifle, but I can't buy one on the street. Absolutely right. Because when you join the military, you get certain benefits, right? That's how we run our program. That's how we recruit people to join our military, because it's an important thing. One of those benefits would be you'll get to use a rifle. You'll get to train to use a rifle. You'll be around competent people who know how to use a rifle. And so, to me, the arguments are very weak in the end, but people will definitely say that, Jimmy. And I'd like to push back a little bit about Dawn saying that she would like to see states take over our gun laws. The only reason I would push back against that is you have a situation like in Chicago where there's strict gun laws, but these people are running straight over to Indiana and grabbing guns and running back across the state line. So I think it's going to be done on the federal level for it to work.
Yeah. Well, the Chicago situation is gangs. They're going to run anywhere and get it. They're going to go to Mexico and get it. It don't matter what you do, but they're going to get it. They're already there.
Run to Mexico, run next door.
They're going to run. Yeah, like they don't do that every day. But I'm telling you, illegal guns are always going to be out there. All of the cities that have the strictest laws are the ones who have the highest gun crime. So they're always going to be there. So we have to work at this. Not just, and right now we're talking about just the guns, and that's not going to solve everything, guys. We have to secure the schools. We have to talk about mental health. We have to talk about the citizens being more responsible. When you see people post things on Facebook that says, "I'm going to go shoot up a school," you probably need to let somebody know, right?
And so that's what I really like to get into is how do we address that? Because and I was sure y'all was going to laugh at this, but I'm going back to the Larry Flint thing. And Don, I don't know if you heard about Larry Flint spill. I think our media really started taking a downward spiral when Larry Flint won his case against Jerry Falwell. That we put this terrible cartoon about Jerry Falwell in Hustler magazine, and he ended up winning the case. And he said it was satire, So if I post something like that on Facebook, and I've got 15 ARs in my house, and cops bust down my door, and I say, "Oh, that was just satire." How are they going to say it wasn't? You know what I mean? And so then we're talking about First Amendment rights being infringed upon, and all these other things. So there's a lot going on this thing, right? There's a lot of checks and balances. There's a lot of moving parts. There's a lot to take into account. And so but you're right too that when you see a post like that, you need to get in contact with somebody and then let them know something's going down.
Yeah. Sure. I mean, let your local officials know and just say, "Hey, such and such posted today that they were going to go shoot up, a certain school. Just thought you should know." And then I've done my part. But then you have a whole nother aspect that we haven't talked about. And this is like the third school shooting that has went down where the resource officers and the cops have failed to appropriately respond. So what's happening there? See, we get back to the society thing that I mentioned before. It's like we're in some type of societal collapse, because when I was growing up, I saw nothing but alpha males as cops or alpha females. They were tough. They were not scared. They would run right into the storm and pull you out if you needed to. Now we're seeing a lot of cops holding back. And again, we've had guns this whole time, a gun for a gun this whole time. Why did they hold back like they did? I mean, that's different.
I like to see what Dewey Dog thinks about that.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I don't know why they held back. I mean, like in my mind, I question why didn't they go in there guns blazing, and take this guy out quickly.
Mm-hmm.
But also, if I'm in that scenario, what do? Is there a reason tactically that they decided not to go in?
Mm-hmm.
Is there protocol with these shootings now where there was something going on that they decided not to go in right away? And then you're talking about a resource officer who is armed essentially. But the way I understood, you're talking this small town in Texas.
Mm-hmm.
Who knows? The guy probably wasn't even trained to really handle the gun. He was probably just a resource, and that's probably
Right.
the problem.
Yeah.
I don't know enough about it to really speak. I wonder what occurred that kept them from holding back. Did they think that they were going to go? Did they think that if they held back that it would protect more children? Because to me, it would seem that you would go, guns ablazing no matter what.
Sure. Yeah. And the thing is, a 90-minute response time or a 90-minute elimination time is a lot, especially now that we have solid reports that some of the officers ran in and rescued their wives and their kids and came out. We have solid reports of this. This doesn't make the law enforcement look good, and I'm a pro law enforcement girl. I think we need more, and I think we need them everywhere. I don't think the commander I don't think that he meant for any of this to happen. But at some point, the Border Patrol Special Forces, from what's been reported, just pushed through and said, I'm not going to sit here anymore. And they went in and gave this guy a kill shot. Whether you have kids in there or not, you have to go in because the kids were getting slaughtered, and they did get slaughtered while we had 19 officers. If you have armed officers a hallway away from innocent, vulnerable children who are sitting targets, there is no excuse to not go in guns a-blazing. I mean, honestly, if you went in and you accidentally took out one or two kids, you may have saved 50. Who knows how many more of these kids would have been killed had the Border Patrol people not pushed through. So I definitely think we need to probably look at the training of school security, because unfortunately, in this day and age, you have to have school security. And now you're going to have like some of the best types of men, like what you were saying, Jimmy Don. Most of the resource officers I knew, were just kind of taking the school jobs because it was easy. But now it's tactical, like it's SWAT team level. And something else that nobody's talking about, and I want you guys and I want the audience to say something. What is going on with selling Kevlar vests to citizens? Now, that's something that I completely don't understand. I don't know why I would ever need to go and find me a bulletproof vest. That right there should fly up some type of flag, because I don't need a bulletproof vest to go hunting. So you would think that that's something that we could look into and go, okay, this guy has bought 4 helmets, 5 Kevlar vests, 2 ARs. You would think that something like that would be kind of red flagged.
Sure.
Yeah. So Rundle says something here, and that's the part I don't know. I'd be interested to see a timeline of when he shot the kids. I would think they were shot in the first 5 minutes of him entering the classroom, which is probably true. I mean, because he went in, fired off. He may have run out of bullets. I don't know. And he may have holed up. I don't know. Like I said, I haven't read because it depresses me. I don't like it. Just blows my mind that the cops would sit there and wait. Like, what is the reason that they would sit there and wait?
They were scared.
Say again, JD.
Because they were scared.
Maybe that's it. Maybe it's that simple. They were just scared to go in.
Mm-hmm.
Here's the problem, man. And this is what we'll get into as we get on into this discussion a little deeper. Is if somebody has an AR and a cop's outfitted with a handgun, then you're way outgunned, man.
That was but that was the initial resource officer. We're talking about tactical guys.
Now the tactical guys,
they sat there. Yeah, they sat there for 30
cowards.
They sat there for 30 minutes, and then one of them finally just got tired and went to the local law enforcement and said, I'm going in anyway. And he went in and did the kill shot on this guy.
Well, I understand it was a off-duty border patrol guy, right?
Off-duty, yeah, special ops guy, and he had like some gear on or whatever. You know, he had enough time to go to the house and get prepared and come back, drink a coffee before they ever went in, and that
blows my mind.
It does. From the time that the first 911 call went in to the time of elimination of the target was 90 minutes. Within that window of 90 minutes, you had teachers and students pleading. And remember, they did their part. What do we teach our kids? If you get into trouble, call 911. Well, now I'm going to be like, okay, if you get into trouble, you need to call me first, because I can tell you, I'll go in. If I get shot between the eyes, I'm going to go in and try to save my kids. I'm not going to sit out in the hallway and gather my thoughts. I mean, I'm not going to do that.
So it's honestly, let's put the cops in a terrible situation, because you have to, as a police officer, you have so many hats you have to wear, right? Mm-hmm. You're a traffic cop, you pull people over, you have to be pleasant, you have to have the right temperament, you have to be the right tone of voice, because your career's at stake, right? If you talk to the wrong person, you're in trouble, and it reflects badly on the police department, all these other things. But when the bullets start flying, I don't want that guy.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying? I want an animal. I want somebody I want Clint Eastwood. I want Dirty Harry. You know what I'm saying?
That's right.
And there's something to be said about that. We need those kind of guys too. Yeah, we need those guys around. Really.
We do, and that's what I was saying with
the mild mannered traffic cop. I like him, but there's a time for, pardon my French, but there's a time for the asshole, and this is it.
Right.
Here you go, big dog. Go eat.
Right. And see, what JD just said, honestly, how the pendulum swings, right, in this country. I mean, just a couple years ago, we were defund the police, and we want police to be more community oriented, and we want them to be more social worker. And then when this comes, we want our alpha male go in full on Jason Bourne shooting people. And it's all about our society is why we have these problems. Guns have always been in this country. Guns have always been around the world. And we have multiple countries that has mass shootings. It is not just us. We are unique to the school shootings, and we are unique to the first world countries having these problems. But there are mass shootings that happen across this world every single second that passes. But we have got to figure out what we're going to do in our society. Are we going to support law enforcement to go in guns a-blazing? I am. Sounds like JD is, and it sounds like you will, Jimmy Don. But what about the extreme fringe over here? They don't like that. They don't like the thought of that. They don't like the thought of their kids, being in the same room where something's, being shot up.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I'm saying. It's tough because I also want the traffic cop to be respectful and be nice and not be a racist piece of crap and all these other things, So it's really tough, man. But you got to find that balance. I think that's why police recruitment is so tough, because not everybody can do that, right? Not everybody can be the gentleman to the couple they just pulled over, and then be the insane person that's going to run to a building with bullets flying back at you.
You're right.
Am I wrong in that, if you're a cop these days, you're damned if you do and damned if you don't?
Yeah.
Yes.
It really is.
They have went through their heads, out there.
Yes.
Okay, we have to do this perfectly. Like Chris K said here, and it's true. Remember, Yemen, the hostage takers killed the hostages once U.S. forces attempted to rescue. The timeline's very important. Did he shoot them right away or when the cops arrived? And so I just wondered, like, I can't imagine in my mind, like I've thought about it over and over. I can't imagine just sitting there.
Yeah, but you're right, Jimmy Don. These people are getting sued and put into jail now. Okay, they are. You don't want a super soft cop, and then you don't want a super hothead cop. So yeah, I think the recruiting is a lot of it. But our societal shift has created 100% of this because they're scared to death. They don't know if one thing they are going up against ARs, and not only are they going up against ARs, but they're going up against people in full tactical gear. The guy, in the Buffalo grocery store, he engaged. He was a full-on cop, and he shot the guy. And you can't take somebody down who's ready for war.
Well, that's the thing too, Don. That's a part of this too. As complex as it is, these cops know that shooter's not coming out alive.
Right.
There's nobody more dangerous, right? Because there's nobody more dangerous who doesn't intend to come out. Because he's going to shoot at everybody and everything. And so I think that plays into it as well. That the cops know the state of mind of this guy that's sitting here shooting up kids. That he knows he's not coming out, and he knows if they go in there, it's war.
It's war.
In the halls of the school.
Don't sign up to be a cop. Don't sign up to be in the military. Don't sign up to be in the military, because that is the job. But we've got to do something about selling private citizens full-on tactical gear, especially Kevlar. You know, if you want a helmet, fine, but a Kevlar vest, you're signaling something that doesn't seem safe to me at all.
That's like the NRA wanting people to be able to buy silencers. Why would you need a silencer for her?
Right. And then
Deer don't care about you. If your tiger gun goes off, it's too late, bro. Deer don't care.
And then Jason Rundle made a comment about military grade equipment. Police officers have to be they cannot be outgunned. Now, they wasn't in Texas. Believe me, they had all the guns they needed. They just held off and didn't use any of them. But we have to arm our LEOs with the comparable as our citizens have. But the main thing is, in order for citizens to be able to keep their guns, I want to keep my guns. I'm a female. So when people talk about all of these really restrictive gun control, and I don't care what your personal opinion is, because it doesn't outdo mine. As long as I'm responsible, I should be able to own a gun in this country of any style that I want, as long as I'm responsible, and I am. But every time somebody comes out and does something like this, it directly affects me, and I know I have to bend a little. So in this case, I think bending a little with the ARs, specifically the ARs, moving that up to 21, and a lot of states already have, including red states. That's one thing we could do. And then another thing, when somebody goes in and has all these flags come up, our laws are failing us. Honestly, the Buffalo shooter had all kinds of things go on that they didn't catch. So, I mean, who's watching all this stuff? We're putting laws everywhere. And remember, ultimately, murder is a law. We've got laws.
Yeah, that's everywhere. The thing, right? Even no matter how much you fund the police, right? No matter how much money you throw at them, or how much tactical gear they got, people are going to find a way to do bad things. We know that. But even like social media, how much time should the cops be expected to spend on social media, checking out what this crazy guy down the street posted? You know, there's only so much. You only have so many resources, I guess is what I'm saying. You know what I mean? Right. So is our time and effort well spent, you know, scrolling through social media, looking for threats all the time? I mean, I don't know.
Yeah. Well, and that's where we come in as good citizens. We have a role. We have a role in how our society works. One of it is the teacher propped the door open. Immediately, you should never be able to prop a door open ever in any school, you know, because that gave him easy access. He just strolled right in. You can have gates. Again, I'm going to go back to this I'm going to die on this hill. You cannot access any elite child's campus. You can't even get close to their school because you can't get on their campus. And I know that seems extreme. And you're saying, oh, well, now we're treating schools like prison. Well, you have a choice to make. Do you want to see 19 kids dead? Or do you want to see your kids come home safe? We just had some crazy guy scale a fence in Nashville. He's, you know, how the little chain link fences are around the playgrounds, and they're about 4.5 feet, 5 feet tall. Well, he scaled that like no big deal, came over, started attacking some kids, and it took 3 teachers to try to take him out. We've got teachers acting like they're at war. I mean, this is insane.
Yeah, it really is.
And then talk to your kids. Talk to your kids. I tell mine, and it's a shame that you have to sit down and you have to talk to your kids about. At one point, I even visited the idea of the Kevlar backpacks. I'm sorry. That is just way too much. Okay. We should not have to put our kids in bulletproof backpacks to go to school. This is insane. And it's not just the guns, and it's not just mental health. It's a multiple of every lie that we're putting out in society, and we're twisting people up. Everybody is messed up, and we're just acting like it's normal. This is not normal behavior in the least. And yes, our leaders need to do something. I don't know what, and they better not go too extreme. But something has to be done, and we've got to quit. We can do the little things, guys. We can quit, and we have on this podcast. When we first started, me and JD were trying to kill each other. The first thing you can do is start talking and trying to listen to each other. That really solves a lot, because when somebody kills somebody, it's not out of love, right? It's because it's about hate. So, I mean, everybody needs to calm down and see how we can get through this, because children should not be getting slaughtered the day before they go on summer vacation.
So let's talk about this. What are, like Jason Rundle says here, he could do 21 and background checks. So what are the common sense gun laws? Because there has to be common ground, because I'm a Republican. I believe in the Second Amendment, and believe it or not, one of the very first podcasts that we ever did for the Just That Bourbon podcast, maybe the first, we talked about that. We talked about gun control. JD is incredibly centrist when it comes to the gun debate. He doesn't really go left. I don't really go right. But there's a whole lot of us that have centrist views when it comes to gun control. So I think, Don's hit on some of them, like, the age of, especially automatic weapons, being raised. I think that makes sense. Universal background checks, no matter what. Universal background checks for guns. Those are two common sense gun laws. What else are we talking about that could make sense that the left and the right should be able to agree on?
I think clip size, things like that, or common sense.
Right.
You should be able to carry 100 rounds in one clip.
Yeah.
As a person who wants to go do a mass shooting, I can only carry so much equipment, right? So if I got to carry 60 clips, that's going to be a hindrance.
Yeah.
So at some point, if we can reduce the size of the clips, and that means they can carry less ammunition, right? So I think the clips is the next place we can go.
Right. See, and so I'm good on raising certain semi-automatic rifles to the age of 21, because this can be a slippery slope. And I'm a female, so I'm coming from a minority standpoint. So I'm all about trying to protect my gun rights, right? So I'm good with that. I'm good with background checks. Already, anytime you go to a commercial sales place and you buy a gun, you're going to go through a background check. But yeah, if they want to push it a little further and have, Jimmy Don's going to give a gun to JD and do a background check, so be it. I don't think it's going to catch a thing, to be honest. When it comes to clips, I'm not there. And I'll tell you why. As a female, if I am scared out of my mind, because, I already have I have 3 shots that I get when I go dove hunting, and it freaks me out because I have to put a plug in, and it blows my mind thinking that I only got 3 shots to kill what I need to kill. I couldn't imagine how many shots I would fire off if somebody had home invaded and is trying to pull Reagan out or trying to pull Brooklyn out. So no, I don't want to be limited on my ammo. That's not anybody's business on how much ammo I get. So we can start small with, and like I said, some states have already done that, certain semi-automatic rifles. If we raise that to 21, that's not killing me. Backgrounds, more extensive backgrounds, not killing me. I'll tell you something else that's not killing me is wait periods for certain gun purchases. If it's a handgun, I'm not really down with a wait period, because I know too many women have gotten killed by their ex-husbands because they were in the wait period of waiting on a handgun in certain states. And I don't know if that would save them or not, but I don't like that. So, anyway.
So I want to go through a couple of the comments here just real quick and let you guys comment on each one of these, okay? So Chris K says biometric grips. I'm
Yeah.
assuming that's something that would recognize if you buy the gun, there's a grip put on it that recognizes you as the person holding the gun, correct?
Yeah, it's really fancy.
That's smart because a lot of these shooters that have happened are people who, stole a stepfather's gun and he went out to shoot up at school. A lot of times, the person that's doing these shootings aren't the gun owners themselves, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's people who are getting these guns second hand or third hand. So biometric grip, I think, would make a whole lot of sense.
Yeah, things like that doesn't.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then Jason Rundle says he doesn't agree with the clips at all, but he comes down here
Yeah.
and says, hang on.
That's right, Jason. Yay!
10 round clips is just as deadly as one 100 round clip.
That's right.
The only thing
but 10 100 round clips are way more deadly.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're in a school and you have 1,000 rounds, you got 100 rounds, it's way different.
The only thing, like, I don't agree or disagree with that. I don't know where I stand on that. I do think that if you had a 10 round clip and they have to change the clip again, then maybe that buys some time for somebody.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe that's the case. Now, here is the one thing I hear a lot. Let me pull this up. And this is Michelle Moore. If you take away those from law-abiding citizens, you only leave the guys who get them illegal with one. Mm-hmm. And that's the argument that you hear a lot is, versus a lot of these gun control laws, is that the bad people are still going to get the guns. And there is probably some truth to that.
Let's address that a little bit.
We get evidence of that every single weekend in Chicago and Baltimore and Philadelphia, every single weekend. Those Washington, D.C., that's the most regulated in the nation, and in highest violent crime with guns. So, I mean, that's where she's coming in with that at, because they're breaking multiple laws every day because they don't care. So
I don't know anybody with a fully automatic weapon. But Don just said earlier in the show that we have them around.
No, we do. We do have fully automatics, yes.
You know why I don't know anybody with a fully automatic weapon? Because it's illegal for them to have it.
Right.
It's the same thing with every other thing. That's like saying, people are going to do drugs, we should just make them legal. No, but don't make it a right to do the thing just because it's legal.
Right. Well, let me correct
something. You limit access by making it illegal. That doesn't mean that the good guys aren't going to have guns. It means it limits access for everybody, which includes the criminal.
Automatic guns are legal in this country. They are just so classist that normal people are not going to go after them. They are so restricted. And that's what JD's talking about. If you want a fully automatic weapon, you're talking about like a $10,000 or $15,000 application fee. You're talking about extensive ATF background checks, and DEA is even involved. And there's like a waiting list for like 3 or 4 years or something. I mean, they make it so hard that normal people can never get them. And that's why you don't have people up shooting schools up with automatic weapons. Absolutely, it worked.
There restricts the access to them. Right.
That's right. So unfortunately, we have to look at certain semi-automatic rifles with high velocity and tumbling ammunition. We do have to consider that. Now, I own any type of gun that you could possibly come up with personally as a female. Okay. I want to keep all of them. But I'll be honest, when I talk to my friends who are gun owners, they know that they will be priced out of owning guns. If you start putting licenses on them and insurance on them and things like that, normal people are probably going to turn over their guns more than what they should. So now what you've done is you've basically eliminated Second Amendment rights without repealing the Second Amendment, because you've classed us out. So when we argue about guns, remember, we're not getting the same game that rich people get ever.
With everything, though, it's not just guns. That's everything.
But when you scream about equality, you need to say certain equality, or it's going to be equality. I want to be equal. I want my children to have equal access to a safe environment, just like Beverly Hills kids are, just like Kardashian's kids are, just like DeSantis kids are. That's equality.
Well, good. You better be willing to pay more taxes and have more federal involvement, government involvement.
They don't do that, JD. They literally send their kids to a safe environment. They pay more, and that's what they do. That's how they pay more.
But there would be taxes for us. That would be taxes for the common person who doesn't see that.
Sure.
Private
oh, well, yeah.
Well, that means we made the government bigger, and that's like people saying, oh, if we can send $40 billion to Ukraine, we should have security guards at every school. That's cool. But I thought you wanted small government. You can't. and I'm not saying you particularly, I'm just saying people make that argument, is that what we're doing now is doing what? We're growing the government, we're making the government bigger. The payroll for the government is bigger. And everybody complains about the government not being efficient the way it is. So now you want the government
It's not efficient. But there's a difference between efficiency on things that are tangible and intangible. And right now we need, if we can see that we make schools safer, nobody will complain. And it's a valid argument. When we can whip up $40 billion to send to Ukraine, then certainly we can come up with more funding to put resource officers. I have friends that have children in school that don't even have a single resource officer. That's something that I've never had. We've always had them in Knox County. And let me tell you, my youngest one who goes to private school, and the only reason why I talk about this, and the only reason why we're in private school is because I had to put her in there in order for her to excel academically, because all the schools were trying to shut down. And now that I'm in there, we're going to try to stay there. It's a complete different ballgame, guys. Complete. You can't get to her school. It's behind a gate. You can't even see her school. There is different levels of society. And I'm telling you, when you go when you get to, and I'm all about screaming about it, when you get too far to letting people put rules on the poorer people, then you're only elevating your rich. And I don't think that's fair. I think that JD has every right to protect his family just as much as Trump does. And that's where I'm at on this gun thing. Immediately, we can start securing these schools more. Pop fences up around them. Put trees around your fence if you think it's ugly. If you don't like sending your kids to a locked school and all these measures, then homeschool them. It's a free country. Or send them to a private school. Do whatever you want to do. It's a complete free country. But the thing is, we cannot have children terrified, calling 911, begging for their 8-year-old life to be saved at school. And that's where we're at. So we can argue on how we're going to do it, but the very first thing we can do is make it hard target for these people. So the reason why I ain't killed a buck in 20 years? Because they're hard targets. But you can take a doe out anytime. That's how we're going to have to do schools. That's where we're at in society until we start working on more of the societal problems and try to get people calmed down to where they don't fist fight each other over any little disagreement they have. Then I don't know what else we can do. But I'm so anxious to see what Biden drums up these next couple of weeks. And I hope it's not too extreme. But we'll see what they come up with.
He's not been extreme yet. In my opinion, I think he will do some common sense. I hope some common sense legislation comes down. It'll be interesting to see.
No, it will be interesting to see. I said I don't agree with or disagree with anything anybody said. I know specifically here where we live, you could kind of lock it off. I mean, you can't walk into a school right now without being buzzed in. Like when the school day is going on, they buzz you in. And generally they know they know us. It's small town, so they know who you are. And you're not getting into the school necessarily if they don't know you. It is locked. But I wouldn't even mind something at the bottom of the hill. Like the elementary school just comes to mind, because, where you could gate it up and then open, during the morning when people are going back and forth, dropping their kids off, that's one thing. But as the day's going on, actually having a security guard sitting down there.
Well, what if we had like locked doors inside? When you walk into the office, you can't get through unless you bust through the second door. Like to do with the Patterson at Walmart to see you to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, or even like walking off the hallways. Like again, I'm just thinking of our elementary school. It goes straight and to the left, right? So they're straight ahead and then to the left, and you could lock those off too, where you can't just get through those.
One thing we skipped that we forgot to talk about that lots of people are talking about is arming teachers. I'm cool. I don't care who has guns. It don't bother me, but I don't think that teachers should if they don't want to. And I think that should probably be school by school, because some teachers, may not be comfortable with 15 armed teachers in the building with them. But, as far as I go,
14-year-old boys run around.
Right. That's right. So, to me, it doesn't, but like I said, my kids live with me and they have, gun access. So one of my guns is all of my kids are trained on, but mine are older, and then the rest of them are locked up. But I don't mind having teachers armed.
So I just think the teachers have enough right now. I mean, oh yeah, here's a gun too. You need to make sure it's a lock and key and responsible for it.
Well, no, I never said that. For the ones who want to.
No, I know. I'm just saying. I think that's a lot. Just to ask of a teacher for something more. And it's tough for me. We don't even trust our teachers to pick out library books for our kids, and now we want our teachers to pack guns. It's tough for me.
Right. Because if I was a teacher, I would already be putting in my request.
If I let teachers, pack guns, I would definitely. They'd have to have a permit. They'd have to go through some training because they do have a lot of young adults or young kids around them. They need to be able to handle a gun. Make sure they're trained to handle it, not just going down the road.
Amy's a teacher, and I don't know how comfortable she would be. I mean, she's comfortable with guns. We've been around them our whole lives, and I think most people here, it's one of the things about growing up around here, we're very comfortable with guns because we're around them. But I don't know how comfortable she would be, right. Packing a gun to school or having a gun in a room. I don't know. We haven't talked about that. It's something like, she kind of goes back and forth on. She says, I can see it. That way if somebody at least came in the room and, you could start popping off, rounds. If the shooter walked in the room, maybe it would scare them and they would walk out. I don't know.
Right. Well, remember, we got to get the bulletproof vest off of the perpetrator because, a handgun's not going to do anything. And then another thing, teachers may not be comfortable with it in Connecticut, but I guarantee you in Montana, to where you have these schools that have 200 kids and 15 teachers or whatever, I'm sure every one of them are dragging out, elk and everything else. They're comfortable with guns, so, I mean, that's why I put it back on the states too, to come up with what they're going to do to protect their schools, because what we legislate in one area of the country is not fair to another area of the country at all.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think Dawn's on something, JD. As far as I agree with both of you, actually. I think there are certain state laws, because states are different, right? And there's different things that are going to apply to different states. But there also should be some federal mandates as well, maybe on the background checks, so that everybody's having to do the exact same thing in every state. And then you apply some more common sense gun laws in your states as they apply to your people and your population. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, all that stuff's too simple. Because remember, these are politicians and they're fighting for power. They're not fighting to save your kids. If they were fighting to save your kids, we'd be talking about,
Yeah, I'm with all that. I think this makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, well, guys, we're at an hour, and JD's on his trip, and then my family's going to want to come hang out here in just a little bit. Mm-hmm. So it's a great discussion, and I think the way it should be discussed, and I hope our politicians have enough sense to actually talk to each other, because I think the majority of this country, whether you're right or left, are sick and tired of what just happened in Texas. Right. We are sick and tired of it, and it's time for them to actually do what they get paid for and get off their asses and make some decisions that actually affect this. What was it? It was one of you all posted that it was like a flow chart, and do nothing and we're right back here, and that just seems to be how it is. And like I said, God bless those people out in Texas, and families. It just, absolutely makes me ill that kind of thing still goes on.
Yeah. Get on the phone, call your legislatures, tell them what you want, but make sure you get those kids protected, because this is all crazy.
Yeah, I think that
we don't want to have this conversation again. We don't want to have this conversation again.
No.
We don't have to debate this gun control about mass shooting.
Yeah, these are
about school shootings.
Yeah, we're talking about babies getting killed, innocent children. So this has to stop. So now's the time. We tell everybody all the time, you got to raise your voice. Call your principals. Call your superintendents. They're the ones that talk to the state leaders if you have to. Push for resource officers that can do kill shots.
Yeah, that are trained.
Yeah.
And let me say this too. The argument, I'm so tired of this argument. Oh, you can kill people with a rake or something. But that's not happening, right? People break into schools with shovels or picks or axes or knives and kill a bunch of kids. They're coming in with ARs and they're mowing them down. So that's the problem we have to address. So I understand that, Cain killed Abel with a rock. But Ain't nobody breaking into a school with a rock to kill people. They're coming in with ARs. And so that's what we have to address.
Yeah.
And that's all we can address.
I think
So I'm just tired of that argument. It's a terrible argument.
Yeah, it is. Come right out of the gate. I mean, I'm Republican, diehard Republican, but I would come right out of the gate and I would raise certain semi-automatics to the age of 21 plus a cool down period. That's a nice middle ground that everybody would, appreciate, I think. And then we'll go from there and increase security. Push for security in your schools. Remember,
I'm with you, Dawn, but I was also at the clips.
Yeah. Well, you're a big, strong guy. Me, I want my 100 shots, and I like my drums and stuff. So I like to think that if 2 or 3, remember my mother was home invaded. So I'm a little personal on this, and there were 3 in her house. So I want to be able to mow you down if you come in. Yeah. So that's why I will always push on that ammo and I know people are like, oh, that doesn't happen. Yes, it happens. So home invasions happen, rape happens, robberies happen, assault happens, and they primarily happen to women. I want all the clips that I could possibly have loaded.
I might get that. I'm just saying I'm trying to find the balance here because I want women and people who are vulnerable to have the firepower they need to defend themselves, but also want to give the tech cops a chance to get.
Yeah. Well, one area.
Perpetrators in a school shooting it up, and I want those kids to have a chance. Right. Get away from a guy while he's reloading the clip.
Well, I tell you how the cops always win because they've got they've got better guns, they've got plenty of equipment. They can't win if they show up and they're shooting into a bulletproof vest and a bulletproof helmet.
Oh, I agree with that.
So there's something else.
I agree with all those things though. It's not like there's just one thing.
That's right. So there's something there's 2 things that me and JD went right off the bat. So you've got 2 complete different sides right off the bat. If you're a citizen and you're just put in for a full-on body armor, probably need to flag that because that's weird.
Yeah, it really is. Yeah. All right, guys, we'll stop it here. Thank you guys so much for coming and hanging out with us here on this Sunday evening. We so appreciate it. We'll be back next Sunday. And until then, go check out our social media pages on Facebook and Instagram. A lot of good debate on there this week on this issue that we discussed tonight. A lot of good debate.
I got called an idiot.
Did you?
And I got called an idiot on the social media page this past week, so that's pretty cool.
Oh, did you?
I mean, I missed a lot of the comments.
Sorry about that. No. No, but come check out the social media. Like I said, a lot of good debate over there. We'll launch this podcast from Podbean, but you can find it anywhere that podcasts are listened to, iTunes, iHeart, Amazon, Spotify, all those places. You'll find us there. You guys have a fantastic rest of your weekend and enjoy your Memorial Day weekend. And remember why we are off work and have the opportunity to live and hang out with our families and the freedom that we have in our country. So, guys, thank you so much. From myself, from JD, from Don, no matter how bad your week's been, no matter how bad your day's going, if you just have bourbon, it always gets a little bit better. We'll see you guys next week.